What's up, everybody? Clinton Fauché here, the Front Porch Chronicles. I'm your host. And today we've got on Gareth Hoernel. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, entrepreneur, founder of M3 University, and somebody that I super respect. I appreciate you, Gareth, for coming on. How are you, brother?
Thank you so much for the introduction. And yeah, just another blessed day to be of service, and had a great morning training some combatives at Florida Defensive Training here in Miami, and just working, close quarters combative situations, both unarmed and armed, and, watching a young student, a girl, probably $120, grapple with guys and figure out how to frame and create distance. And then if she has to escalate force with her hands or a pistol to defend herself, she can, and she can protect her life. So that was the morning, and we did that, and that was incredible. And now we're just offloading from that and not just like recharging, so just kind of I would say that balance of like just that very intense like savage mode of like fight, protect, do whatever you can to provide or to protect, really tapping into that masculine energy, but then also down regulating that into like the feminine side, where like my boy Matt and I mean, his beautiful flowing hair sitting beside me would indicate he's like some divine siren, but he's actually a Jack Leonidas. And we go to the beach, we do like martial movements, and we do stuff to reconnect with the water and the ocean and the elements to really recharge and repower. And I realize I have to do that more. That balance is so important for me. And what we did in Colombia was an amazing recharge, Clinton. And I'm so thankful that I shared that space with you, brother. Thank you, man.
Yeah, you as well. Let's take it all the way back to the origin. What kind of kid were you growing up?
I was a very energized, optimistic, like bright, vibrant soul child who was just curious to explore the world around him. My brother and I at a young age would, use kendo sticks in the backyard and have these kumite, like Japanese era sword battles as young boys. And then we'd wrestle or we'd practice our kickboxing, or my brother would just use me as his freaking bamboo tree and just kick me and leave me onto my own devices. So I grew up with a perfect balance, I would say, of like Bushido and like martial disciplines like respect, honor, and courage, integrity above all else, and like protecting for your family, being loyal. And like if you dishonor your family, it's like, it's the most dishonorable thing. So never doing that. And that puts a lot of internal pressure on a young boy, I think, for sure. And I always tried to live to that standard. Fell short a lot, but I always try to uphold it at least. And then also like playing native sports like lacrosse, like that really influenced me. Seeing the indigenous tribes of like the Mohicans and the Hurons and the Iroquois nations. I go to these beautiful ceremonies. We play lacrosse, and then they'd have powwows, and we'd see drum circles and sweat lodges. And I was always fascinated with the weapons that the men and the elders would carry on their hips or they would make. And I would always purchase little weapons as a boy. And I think that duality of like the nurturing spiritual side with like the protector, with like the savage, like balance is kind of what I've always grown up in. And played music, like classical music was like in this orchestra, which was a blessing. And, he competed at NISMO, which is like the New York State Music Awards, and played classical music like Chopin and Bach and Beethoven scores. And I mean, that would be when I was like probably 9. But then I always like was very into like skateboarding and just like being out on my skateboard at 7 years old, like just raising hell, like hanging out with seniors in high school. And I'm like 7 and just like doing hood rat things with my friends, like, smoking cigarettes, like on the way to second grade, like in the morning. My boy Brian would be like, "Hey, take these cigarettes to my mom. You want to smoke them?" And I'd be like, "Sure." It'd be fucking cheers. And just like 7 years old, skateboarding, just like, yeah, all the cool kids that do the good tricks, man. He can do a kickflip. What's the common denominator? Well, he smokes cigarettes. So I started smoking cigarettes, and I kicked the habit by the time I was 8. Like cold turkey, tobacco and it's been in my life here or there. But no, I was a rebellious kid, but I was always respectful. I always tried to live with honor and integrity, and above all else, God. Like my mom implemented us a very strong Catholic faith based, and I think more than anything else, just spiritual practice. Like do good to others, like be a good Samaritan, like always honor the golden rule. And my mom and my dad like raised us with impeccable morals and impeccable just empathy towards others, and a warrior spirit for sure. So blessed.
Did you always have that protector instinct?
Yeah, for sure. Since I can remember. I mean, my first encounter really kind of tapping into that natural protector was this kid in kindergarten. So 5 years old, William Gonzalez, and he was constantly picked on and made fun of because he was, Spanish was his first language. And he didn't know much English. And you're 5, you're like scared, your family's coming from like Central or South America. There's like a shock factor there. So this poor little kid was like, you could tell he was like nervous and scared. He didn't speak the language, it was foreign to him. Poor little boy is 5, and this kid in the class would like hold him down so he'd like soil himself, or they'd like prevent him from going to the bathroom, and like just do really like cruel things to this poor boy, and like just subjugate him to this like horrible injustice because he was Hispanic and because he was maybe different. And so I stepped in, and like one morning I literally just cornered this dude. I grabbed him by the collar, and he had like a little like Izod or like Lacoste shirt. I was like, "You gonna learn
Yeah.
today, pretty? You gonna learn today, pretty boy?" And I took his head and I smashed it into the urinal, like, and basically was like, "If you ever pick on William Gonzalez again, I'm gonna make you eat one of these urinal cakes." And I started like dumping his head and giving him like a freshman Friday swirly in the thing. And I was just like, and then the principal came, and then the vice principal came, and I'm like little 5-year-old G getting yoked up by 2 grown men. And I'm just like, I didn't do it, but technically I did, but I think it was the right thing, but maybe it wasn't. And then they were like, violence is not the answer, son. I'm like, well, I don't care. My parents told me that if someone fucks with someone that's innocent, you should fuck up that bully and fight for that innocent person. That's how I was raised. So that comes full circle to like how I grew up. You know, like I don't talk any shit, man, ever, but like on site, like this is the parameters. And I've walked away from so many more altercations, but like I'm not gonna let some poor little kid be subjugated to torture. So yeah, I was always the guy like jumping in and kind of holding the line, and like all the fights I got to do in high school were really
Yeah.
shit that was directed at me. It was like protecting kids that were getting fucked up and they had no one to have their back. So that's when I would challenge kids to like fight in like the Texaco parking lot, like right across from high school, like the most secretive
Yeah.
location ever. So like not only do 200 kids like come to see you fight, and then like the cops fucking after you get the kid on the ground, you're punching him in the face, you let him back up, he rocks you, you won the fight, and then everyone says fucking because he made your nose bleed, you fucking lost. I didn't fucking lose, dude. I could have killed this dude. I showed him mercy. I fucking wanted to go back to the feet, and yeah, my nose is. But then the cops came, you idiots. You told fucking Texaco was a great place to fight, and now I can't even finish the fight because now we got fucking half of Islip's police department in the front of our fighting venue. You guys need to be a better show promoter, man. I know we're only like 12, but you guys can put on a better performance than this. Like, yeah, like
I
talk
love
to
that
Clinton.
better show
He'll set it up.
promoter.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't
I
know.
know that
But I actually, that's one of the
definitely.
first, Clinton, that's one of the first things I got pinched for, bro. I sold tickets to
Yeah.
fights when I was in elementary school. 8 years old, kids were selling like warheads and candy, like contraband, like they're in prison. And I was selling fights to tickets. I would like write these little tickets that I would get from like the arcade, and I'd write like, all right, you want a VIP ticket? Like, give me a carton of milk. Here you go. And I got pinched. I got pinched for selling fight tickets. Yeah, this is when I was like 7. So I wasn't the best kid, but I was like entrepreneurial. I was like kind of ninja like. I just wanted to be a ninja turtle and like eat pizza and ride skateboards, man. And yeah, that was my main goal.
That's a good way to live. That's the way, you're a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, and anyone that's done jiu-jitsu knows it. The belt isn't really about fighting, it's about who you become in the process. What did jiu-jitsu teach you about humility?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, Renzo Gracie has a great quote like, a jujitsu black belt can only cover 36 inches of your ass. Like, you're responsible for covering the rest. So for me, that's my belt size. So yeah, 36 inches, like, yeah, it looks cool. It's a black belt, but like, I earn that right every day. There's so many times where I felt like giving back my black belt and being like, dude, start me from the bottom because this white belt kid is way more explosive, way more technical than I am. And I've been doing this for 15, 16 years. So like, I don't feel worthy of it. That being said, I think like just always earning the right to call yourself a black belt every day is super vital. Like, there's nothing that we have in this world that's not through God. So I get on my knees and I pray to God, like, just thank you for another day to be alive. Thank you for the ability to be a blessing, hopefully in the lives of others. And just give me the strength to, if I do die, die well. And if I do live on a legacy that everyone ever who met me was impacted in a positive way. And that's all I could ask for, right? But that being said, I know how sacred each breath is, how sacred each day is. Having that morning practice and that morning ritual is vital. And I don't know how I'm connecting it to the initial question, but like that's kind of the philosophy as far as like how to offer up your day so that even the external chaos around you doesn't pollute your internal environment. Like, you're always in that serene, like samurai temple mode. And I've been transient, man, living out of a backpack and a plane seat and wherever I need to be, whenever in the world on a moment's notice. I need to be able to like race downstairs in Abu Dhabi, like Four Seasons, race downstairs in 5 minutes with a go bag, go to the Royal Air Base, fly out, destination unknown until we go wheels up and we're at like 30,000 feet sometimes. And then you're basically just like scrambling to get there. Hopefully the resources are there. Hopefully the driving team's there. Hopefully the guys that have the guns have the guns. Hopefully it's an armored up vehicle. Oh shit, you get in, it's not. Fuck. Like then you're like, where are the Mexican dudes with their rifles that are supposed to be protecting our convoy? Well, they're not where they're supposed to be. All right. So we need our now 18 Deltas to push to now be the lead surveillance element and potentially as two gringos in Mexico get taken out, right? Like, or extorted.
Yeah.
So you see how like the one little chess piece out of place can turn into this like snowballing effect of like a lot of worst case scenarios. And so I think I've always been like, I think that's probably what connects all of us, Clinton, like, and how we all got to Athlete's journey home and like Lawara is like, we've lived some pretty gnarly existences. And like, I would say to get back to your question about the black belt, like you can be a black belt in anything, like just be the best and be the most professional and proficient as you can in everything you do. Like in prayer, I'm not that, but I want to be that. Like in protection, being able to box. Like I want to be able to box like class guys, dude, at the highest level. Same with Muay Thai, same with Jiu-Jitsu, same with MMA. Like, and always keep a standard. And standard as like a father, standard as a son, as a daughter, my sister, teammate. Like, hold that standard and don't break that standard ever. And so, I think my biggest
Jiu-jitsu definitely teaches you that.
yeah. So tell me about your
100%.
journey. Tell me about your journey in it, though. Enough about me. I want to hear your perspective on like how jujitsu has shaped and evolved your evolution as a human.
For me, it really changed my perception of what it taught me humility first and foremost, right? So like, when I got into jujitsu, I grew up very savage as we kind of talked about in Lawara. So I was always in the streets. It's one of those things. I'm 101 and 0 in the streets. And so when you come in to do jujitsu, you have different styles, you have different whatever. And so like the thing that it's really taught me is there's gonna be days that you win and there's going to be days that we air quotation lose. And
Yeah.
I don't think there's really such a thing as a loss because I think even in losing, we're winning because we're learning something.
Dude, I
And so that's what jujitsu has really taught me. Uh, is to see the beauty in everything, not just winning, but also in the things not, again, I hate saying losing, but things not going the way that you think they're supposed to go is finding the beauty in that and the evolution from that.
Yeah, like I think that's such the most beautiful reminding lesson. I get that with the ocean with surfing. Like some days you feel like you're on top and you're riding the crest of that wave and you're making beautiful turns and it's incredible. And then other times you're getting pitted from the peak of that wave into the sand and you're getting your wind knocked out of you. You don't know if you can get another breath and you're bored. Literally it's tacoed in half and now you got no flotation device. Because that's happened to me countless times. I've had more close death experiences like in the ocean than anything else. So I'm always humbled by that. But like jujitsu is another humbling. Like, right? You go into a jujitsu academy and my intro, I
Yeah.
was 200 and it's probably like 240. I was like 20, I want to say 20 or 21. I just got done playing rugby in Argentina at a very high level and was strong, man. Like pretty robust at that age and that youth and still having collagen elastin in my joints. And like I came into a jujitsu academy and dude, I got smoked like within 30 seconds by this chick who was like 120 pounds soaking wet. And I was like, this is a fucking superpower. Like, whatever this is, I need to learn this Jedi mind trick strangle because this shit is amazing and it works. And then I was like, I gotta learn it. 'Cause I don't want to get beat up by a bunch of girls or anyone. Like, I don't want to get beat up, but it was like, good on her. She just beat me senseless. And then I proceeded to roll another 2, 3 times. And like, I was getting strangled within seconds, dude. And like, the academy that we trained at, Jonathan is got a guy, all rules MMA, amazing. So, Olympic level judo guy from Venezuela, amazing black belt in jiu-jitsu, taught us well. It was tough. It was like Sundays, we'd have our rugby parties on Saturdays after rugby matches. We'd all get loaded, have these wild like beach houses and everything from like flaming like monster truck tires getting like pushed down the stairs to like smash the windows behind the house of Bjorn to like guys in boxing gloves at 3 a.m. just having like grudge matches in the sand pit in the backyard. It was wild. It was like Animal House, but like Wrightsville Beach version. The one thing that like kept me grounded during that was jujitsu. Like I could have went off the wagon real deep, and I know friends that did like just got heavy into partying. And listen, man, I'll be the first to say I used to love partying. I'm like probably one of the funnest people to hang out with when I'm partying. But like I realize it's got a shelf life. Like I can't act like that belligerent for years, and so I stopped doing that. But like the grounding of knowing I had to on Sunday mornings, regardless of the outcome from Saturday night and how shitty I felt on Sunday, there was a coach waiting for me at the Jiu-Jitsu dojo, and he literally for 2-3 hours, no time limit. He just throw on like some reggaeton playlist, dude, and just beat my ass for 2-3 hours. I never had a water break. I never freaking got to. There was no timeout, and he just humbled me out. And dude, it was the best ass beating. Yesterday, that's what I had. I went to Awesome Jiu-Jitsu Academy in Fort Lauderdale, and
Yeah.
my boy Steve Lowry, and dude, literally at Carbon Jiu-Jitsu, dude, I got smoked. I haven't been ragdolled like that since like I've rolled with Gordon Ryan or I've rolled with Dan Manasow. Shout out to you guys. Henzo Gracie, Blue Basement, what up? But like the other smashing yesterday was, dude, I got fucking ragdolled, and it was great. I was like, this is the best ass beating ever, because through osmosis, I was covering down all those positions, and I was like, all right, I'm learning. Like, fuck me up, dude. And I was like, the one thing after, because I totally got outclassed, out techniqued, I was like, did I fight well? I was like, could you feel my fucking heart? And he's like, fuck yeah. He's like, I'm like, all right, cool. That's good. I'm good on that. I got my ass beat, but like, he knows I'm fucking about it, and I didn't quit like a bitch or wasn't a puto, and I fucking fought to my last dying breath with everything. And that's the acknowledgement I try to do in everything. Friendships, relationships, when I'm sparring, whatever. If you apply that principle to life that you get through jiu-jitsu, you just give it your all, like to your last dying breath with everything. Your relationships, your friendships, your commitments, this, that. Things are going to bountifully bless you. And it's not even about that. It's about blessing others. But it just becomes a full circle evolution, and you're attracting the highest rate.
100%. It always comes full circle.
Yes.
You know, with that being said, you've worked in executive protection and high risk environments across multiple countries. What does executive protection look like behind this?
Yeah, so executive protection, everyone thinks it's like this John Wick scenario and all this like sexy 007 lifestyle. I mean, the experiences, the kind of wasp on the wall, so to speak, of things I've been able to see and experience and just be firsthand privy to is amazing. Like, my life is nothing short but exceptional, and I'm so blessed for all the experiences. But like, I'm not rappelling out of helicopters. I'm not like going on like tactical direct action missions like a lot of my homies have. You know, like that's next level warriordom. I'm on the protective side, so it's like defensive postures to basically ensure that, you know, clients don't get kidnapped abroad. I've had, you know, a lot of scenarios and situations where there's multiple criminal elements after a principal, and you know, not only you're watching like the imminent crash of the Bitcoin market, and you have a laptop basically on your lap studying the time weighted average price point, and then if it does dip below a certain metric, waking up your client to take hundreds of billions of dollars from a hedge fund to put it into the market to stabilize it. All the while, you have an M4 because you got cartel dudes who are trying to kick in the door and kidnap your client, put him into a Zodiac, drive him from the Zodiac to a boat offshore, put a gun to his head and steal his ledger, and then probably take about $7 billion worth of like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So it was like stress element where like 14 days, no sleep. To be honest, like one of the most nootropic things that I was helping to stay awake because I was so sleep deprived and I was just sleeping with this laptop and a rifle was like microdose mushrooms, man. After like Red Bull and caffeine no longer has an effect, and you literally need to be like Neo and still be
Yeah.
plugged into the matrix of your environment. Sometimes you got to take a pill or a gummy, and so these things were great. Shout out shamelessly to, I forget the name of the product, but I realized the advent of high performance like plant medicines in those scenarios where I was hyper stressed. Like, I mean, it wasn't that stressed. I was like, you know what? But the funny thing is, I got a story. So I went off to go shoot because I needed to just blow off some steam. I was in like Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And then at one point, we're supposed to get wheels down in Saudi Arabia. Started shooting missiles into Saudi Arabia, so I had to pivot. Like, the plans were always changing, and this was my teammates on that plane with those missiles, but we were the back plane, so we didn't take off because of that. So what
Yeah.
the thing I'm trying to say is like resiliency, like the ability to adapt in the minute like micro adjustments that jujitsu kind of gives you, and it does come full circle. You got to flow with the world around you, and like when you find like a technical trap or a submission, or you're getting dominated in a particular position, just like being like, all right, I've been here before, I'm cool. I just got to slide this knee to my left. I got to peel this arm over my head, put it to the right, and we're good. You do the same thing with like your friendships, your finances, your relationships, like whatever the stress is. And it just gives you this resilience and this grit to never quit. Like, if you have grit and you can keep fighting and know that you always have a puncher's chance to get out of any adverse, horrible, worst case scenario circumstance you're in, and you don't quit, then you're good, man. You get through whatever life throws your way. And that's, I think, that resilience piece that people need to hear more of. And I think jiu-jitsu gives you that. You get a world-class doctorate in resilience and grit and how to respect your body, but also people's body, man. Like you show human beings respect and compassion, or else like they'll break, they'll,
100%.
they'll break your, you got a heel hook on them, you better release, because they'll come and they'll rip your heel up next time. They'll blow up your leg if you fucking be a dick. So don't be a dick. It just applies to life. You know, it's like a good system of ego check.
100%. Let me ask you, does living in that world change how you see everyday safety for normal people?
Yeah, for sure. I'm always hyper vigilant. I don't think people realize that. People in my presence probably don't realize it, but I'm always on. My mind is a supercomputer of just assessment of like reading somatically the environment around me. It's always been that way since I was a little kid. I got trapped. There was like addictive patterns in my life where I got trapped and it distracted me from that ultimate divine intelligence. But then once I like course corrected and I got back in alignment, like I truly am now, it's amazing. But there's always, so in life, when you're on the right path and you're at the precipice of this great breakthrough, there's a concept my boy Ryan Breslow, shout out to RB, stated, and he taught me when we were in Arizona on sacred like Navajo lands. And it's the it's the resistance. It's the greatest resistance before an amazing or massive breakthrough. And basically, like you're always gonna have these external circumstances like trying to pull you off course, or the seeds of self-doubt. Dude, I woke up this morning, dude, imposter syndrome out like a mofo. I was like, I'm waking up, like I felt like I was run over by a Mack truck because I got abused yesterday by my friends in jiu-jitsu, and then I fought this Muay Thai dude, this tough, like, probably 20 something year old, and him and I had a Muay Thai battle after. And so like my body woke up feeling 38, man, maybe 48. And so I was like, you know, getting out, I'm all like groggy. And then I was like, there's the seeds of self-doubt that the devil will always plant as disastrous seeds of deception, which aren't truth. They're actually the anti-truth. And it was like, why are you going to teach? Like, what are you going to teach? Or what are you going to be bringing to this that people who haven't heard already? And it's like just the imposter syndrome for all aspects. And I'm like, wait a minute. Look who I protect. Look who I've trained with. Look at the honor and the legacy of everyone that's poured their heart and soul out to me. That would be like, gee, are you fucking kidding me? So I was like, all right, change that like self-detrimental ego and be like, dude, go out there and just fucking make sure people feel comfortable and safe and learn as much as they can. And we are mission success in that. So I think taking the stress off like yourself and just being like acting with the purest of intentions just keeps you in alignment in a way that I don't know, it all comes back to the flow, like flowing and rolling and like flowing with the water of life. Like don't resist things. Just like if you want to learn and sharpen a technique in jiu-jitsu, you don't flow against the technique. You literally flow with the technique. And so any of these situations and problems that we face, take that same approach. And there's way less resistance, mental anguish, shame, guilt. But the shame, guilt trap, you got to stay away from. And it's like that's where they hook you, and that's where suppression of substance kicks in. And so once you liberate yourself to the fact that like, yeah, there's nothing that can't be forgiven by Christ. There's nothing that you haven't done or can do that wouldn't be forgiven. And not in a sense that like it gives you a get out of jail free card. I ain't talking about that at all, but just know that like everyone's flawed. Like just lean into God, especially in times of self-doubt. The devil's always going to block your blessings. There's somebody in your life who loves you and protects you and like wants to safeguard you and cherish you. The devil's going to be like, it's not the person, or like you're not worthy of that, or like they're always, that's the biggest commitment and the biggest relationship, right? Is that person who you choose to be your life force and partner with.
100.
So the devil will try to get to that
100%. You know
first.
that, and you know that leads into, you talk about something I think is really powerful, the idea of the modern day protector. What does that phrase mean to you personally?
So protector of everything, protector of the realm around them, protector of first and foremost their relationship with God. Like protect the relationship and the divine force that you have in your body that is God's love for you. Protect that at all costs. That means like don't let your wife, don't get your kids get in between that. Don't let anyone get in the way of that sacred agreement between you and God. Because even people closest to you will try to separate that and create a wedge. If they feel like, if they're illuminated to the point where it exposes their darkness, they will try to sabotage your relationship with the light at all costs. And that's what you'll see. It's like a beautiful, loving person. People will literally just try to turn that light switch off.
100%.
So it's always going to be
Do you
around
do you
us.
think society has lost that mindset?
The mindset of like staying illuminated and just like being a light in people's.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think they
Yeah.
think it like takes some like insane like the shame and guilt is meant to be a blockade from salvation and redemption. Like Yeshua is like the redeemer, the redemption, right? It's like that is the
Yeah.
ultimate connection between God and ourselves, and God is true and pure agape, unconditional love. That's what permeates in all the cells of our body. And so the blockage of that comes in the form of our cell phones, our, movies on Netflix, whatever we want to do to distract and detain our mind from our purpose pursuit, which is what God gave us as our purpose. Like we are unique. Like amazing creations with intricate skill sets and unique qualities that no one else has. We need to honor those qualities and honor the vessel that God gave us in the temple and the spirit so that we can offer ourselves to Christ. That's what the Ascension's about, like offering the purest form of yourself and your body and your spirit and your offerings and making your life a gift to God. That's what I try to do every day is make my life a gift to God. Like I offer it to God. This is your gift. Thank you for gifting me. Whatever I can do to live the purest way and honor your name and your teachings, then I will, and I fall short of that all the time.
I love the
I
way you
never hit
put
that
that.
target,
That's a good
dude.
way to
That's
put
like,
it.
I'm like freaking on a horseback with an arrow and I'm just like sending arrows and they're missing every time. They miss every day, dude, but I still shoot for the same target. Just because you miss the target doesn't mean you stop shooting. No, you shoot, you get more precise, you get more laser focus, you cut out the distractions, you get quality or time with God and solitude. And you make sure you protect the people that are giftings from God. You make sure you honor those who truly love you and are there for you. And like you bring them in as a Spartan like phalanx and you fucking lock down with God and your unit. And that's who you go through life with. That's how you march through life with your shield, your spear, and your sword. You just whatever and everything that comes, you do as a team. Linked arm in arm, shield and shield, And that's the easiest way to frame your nucleus of who's around you. Like that dude's gonna drop his shield, he's not gonna fucking pick up a spear.
100%.
You and your family, like your boys, and he ain't your fucking homie. Like fuck that. This is Spartan shit. Like we live by a
Yeah,
code.
100%. Let me ask you, do you think being a protector is more about mindset or physical ability?
It has to start with the mind first and foremost. Like it has to start with the
100.
programming of your thoughts and the conscious intention daily as a young child, even to be a protector. Like my job as a kid was to help my brother get ready for fights and learn self-defense to survive when he was getting ready for, like nationwide full contact kumite fights. And we would scrap.
Yeah,
We would fight with kendo sticks and we would wrestle and we would our job was to honor each other as brothers and forge an unbreakable, unshakable will and be fucking mean about it. My household was fucking a Spartan training camp, dude. I grew up with a very strict Irish Catholic mother who was adopted, raised by nuns till she was adopted. Family came in. She was my religion teacher. My dad, lifelong martial artist, raised in Marine Corps values as my mom and born on Camp Lejeune. So it was like regiment with like spirituality, with like martial discipline, but then also appreciation of the art and music and very worldly education. But I think the main thing that everyone in my family was more than anything else, like the skill sets, like all that aside, like be a protector. Like everyone in the family has a honorable name to uphold, and like your job is to serve community at the highest level. Like God, country, the people around you, your family, and like doesn't matter. Everyone in my family, like you go down the line, everyone has that heart. It's a fucking platoon of people that are just heart centered, like willing to die and
agree.
ready for family.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's what you have to as the man of the family.
agree
That's what you have to
100%. I think it all
fortify.
starts with the mindset. I think if your mind
Mindset.
is
Yeah,
corrupt
bingo.
or your mind isn't set up, physical can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing.
Yeah,
Because if you're not mentally right, the physical part really does no good.
yeah, and I've seen both sides of
So
that same sword, man. Like I've been physically fit and like mentally fucking shattered. I've been like
yeah,
physically fit.
100%. That's
I've been physically fit.
well, most of the time when people are overly in the gym, and this is just my perception,
Yeah,
most of the time it's a coping mechanism, right?
for
And I
sure,
think
for sure.
we all have different coping mechanisms, and we usually go balls deep into something, whether it be drugs, alcohol, partying, the gym, overeating, undereating,
Yeah,
sex, all of these
yes.
things, which are
Distractions.
all basically corruptions of the mind.
Yes, 100%. And it comes in multi tangible little tools and devices and distractions and all of these little
Yeah.
things that are seeds planted by the devil to sow the seeds of doubt, shame, guilt, fear. No, faith over fear and light and love over the darkness, man. Don't lower your frequency for anything. Don't let any external circumstance
One
ever erode or downregulate your highest conscious frequency. You know,
one hundred
that's
percent. You know,
yeah,
you founded M3 University, built around martial arts, mindset, and movement.
yes.
Why did you choose those three pillars?
So it's something I've been teaching and it's like not advertised. And I wish I would have documented more of that journey. But since I was 20, I've been coaching martial artists, and that, like, kids especially, like, resonate like the strongest with. I'm a giant 6'3", 6 year old at heart. So like I just feel like I'll always be a kid. But like they need the martial arts and the training and the discipline the most because it sets them up for success in life as little humans. And like, so for me, that's really where my heart's at. Like I went to school for history and education, but also elementary education because I love little kids, you know? So I don't have any of my own because I always say, like, the running joke is I'm like TOG to so many, you know, I got my 3 nephews up in New York. I've got
Yeah.
little nieces and nephews like roaming around all over the world that I have dear friends who were just family to me, had babies. And now I'm like the supportive masculine presence in their life who's like Uncle G, who can like bring them presents and take them to the Museum of Natural History to show them the T-Rex dinosaur or like, you know, fill in the blanks. So that being said, like cherishing and protecting that is huge. Martial arts, mindset, movement. So the martial arts piece, like if we don't have the discipline to like fortify the temple that we are into formidable weapons and forces for good, then we can't protect our family. We can't protect the realm. We can't protect the temple and anything around us. And so first and foremost, you got to start there. So the martial arts piece, the mindset, you have to have the mindset that it is about Bushido, honor, courage, rectitude, fortitude, doing the right thing, especially when no one's watching. Like drawing your sword when you have to, but mainly sheathing it and keeping it away and using violence as a worst case scenario, never as your prerogative or your go-to, but just like escalating and showing people love and compassion, leading them into the way. If there's a point where your life or someone else's life is in jeopardy, then you act accordingly. Just like loving the people that need it the most. And those are the people that are the most broken, you know, filling the cracks
Yeah.
between their fissured and broken vessel with silver linings of gold. So now those cracks that are darkness become illuminated in gold and light and speck. And I think that's what we experience a lot in Lawara. I think that's kind of what there are some dark cracks and crevices and with the medicine and the wisdom and the teachings that we got to undergo in the Shipibo tradition and culture. Those cracks and fissures in the vessel, that was the hearts and our minds of the clay plots we were born in, was filled with gold, silver linings, beautiful metallic, lustrous colors, and it illuminated us in a way that now we're more resonant of love and light. We're vibrating at a way higher frequency. Everyone there is vibrating at an incredible wavelength and an incredible 5, 6, 7D.
100%.
Super blessed. Like the divine intelligence that we got from the team, the Gunanderos, the ancestral plant medicines, such a blessing. Like Ian and Mark and everyone who helped set this up, Sam and all the Loire staff, like everyone who was an instrumental piece of this amazing matrix and puzzle is such a blessing for not only themselves, for their families, for themselves, and for humanity, for
100%.
the work that they're doing.
Yeah. What transformation do you see in people going through M3 University?
So my main, like, I would say my main passion and one of the things I fell in love with the most as far as teaching was like working with kids with special needs, right? And so, you know, when I was in college, that's what I do. I'd work for the Ark of North Carolina and I'd be like a big brother to kids with Down syndrome and autism. And I had a great friendship with my buddy Jay Poole. And you know, I watched him from the time he was a teenager, you know, growing to a man, and we'd take him
Yeah.
down in a seersucker suit on Sundays after church. And he'd go to this little pecan stand and he'd sell his pecans and he'd be so proud to show me how much money he made that day. And then I'd take him on the trolley and then we go get Chinese food. And then sometimes we go to Wrightsville Beach and we get in our bathing suits after surfing and we talk to babes. Then we get pizza. Then we would go skate to the skate barn and drop in on ramps, and I'd hold him as he would drop in on half pipes, and we'd skate together. And yeah, man, just hang out with my homie Jay. He's a great dude, and I love him to death. And so, like, I was like, all right, martial arts is a great way to implement not only the surfing, but then I used to teach Jay Jiu-Jitsu. And I remember, like, one of the first gold medals I got from winning a tournament. It's like this national tournament, I think in Georgia, but I came back and I put it on his neck and I was like, Jay, thank you for being such an inspiration for me to show me that like courage and limitation never should hold you back from achieving greatness. And I gave him this medal. So he was a great kid. He's a beautiful soul. He's doing really well. But I think martial arts for me, like as a tool to really unlock the light in people and protect people. It's like one thing for like a fighter to sharpen his punches before a fight or a contest. And it's a selfish ambition a little bit. Like I got to prepare for battle against another one. But it's another thing to take those skills and empower a young kid who maybe people forgot about or just, oh, you're in a wheelchair, you're hip. Do you have lots of no? There's no labels, dude. I got my boy Anthony, say what up, in New York. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. He's in a wheelchair. He doesn't stop him. He uses bands. He works out. You know, we hang out. We watch the fights when I am in New York after the Soka Jiu-Jitsu belt ceremonies and stuff. He's a part of the family. And there's no limitation. just a poor attitude, right? And so I think unlocking things of that nature with martial arts is really the main focus of I'm3. But like working with tier one guys, like guys in all different organizations and soft people, and learning from them and learning like the ways of the warrior, teaching it to good people that need to defend themselves. Single mom who's raising two kids who, while she's taking her kids to church and there's an active shooter, we want to know that she has the ability to protect those kids and safeguard herself. And if there is an injury, address those wounds and stop a bleed, directly act on a threat, right? Mitigate, neutralize the threat. All these things are vital, important skills for Americans to learn. And I think, I don't know, that's my mission. So it's like a big conglomerate of like, I guess, GTH Consulting Group, which is, top tier, like executive protection, global close protection operations anywhere in the world. We've got an amazing team and just a roster of incredible, incredible, selfless human beings to get the job done. And then Roman Sanford, the premier executive protection firm in the world, amazing, just brotherhood and fraternal order. And then, you guys, man, Athlete's Journey Home, and like Ian, Mark the Shark, Linda Vachau, freaking dude, amazing work that is just healing minds. And I want to hear about you and your vision and like just let it rip, Clinton. I want to hear your story and where you see Athlete's Journey going.
So for me, we just had a meeting. For me, Athlete's Journey Home, it really, I was in a very dark place, cognitively, emotionally, mentally, all of those things. And so, I reached out to Mark and Ian and Athlete's Journey Home, and they really saved my life, right? Like that it's simplistic because we make that a very easy thing to say, but literally, they saved my life. I mean that from like the heart. Like I had given up, and there was, for me, no hope. And the only thing that kept me around was my kids and me not putting my blood on them and them having to, you know, live with the fact that their dad wasn't here.
Yeah.
But with Mark and Ian walking me through that journey and going to Lawara and just this whole rebuild of me, not just from a work standpoint, but like my mental health, my spiritual health, everything as a whole, it completely changed my life. So being able to come on and work with Mark and Ian, an athlete's journey home going forward, my vision is help them do for other people what they did for me, and that saved lives.
Heck yeah, man.
And that means being supportive, but also being realistic. That means helping people, but also at holding them accountable, because we have this very slippery slope of wanting to help people, but also we have to hold people accountable, because if you keep putting your hand on the stove and I'm telling you, or like you see that putting your hand on the stove is going to burn your hand and you keep doing
Keep
it,
doing it. It's
at
like, all
some
right,
point in time, like you have to be like, look,
get the hell
brother,
out of the kitchen.
I love you, but it's obvious you're not at a point where you're ready to quit putting your hand on that stove. And so get with me after that. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is just helping them help other people save their lives like they did me, is kind of what I'm going with it.
That's amazing.
One of the things that I respect about your message is that it's not just physical strength, it's about spiritual discipline. Where does faith really play, or spirituality really play into your life?
Yeah, man, it's been a pillar in my life ever since I can remember. I mean, I remember having like just really deep meditations as a little kid and always feeling very connected to the environment and all the creatures around and just very elevated in frequency. I was always like super high volume, high, like just energy love. Often misinterpreted. I think there's probably like some ADHD there. I was just like curious to explore and climb trees and ride horses and like
Yeah.
get into mischief, and I love life. And then throughout like normal discourse of life, like things get suppressed or switches get turned off in areas, and you got to figure out other ways to illuminate. And as life gets harder, you evolve, right? You develop resilience and grit. And I think the
Yeah.
piece although I didn't know where it was at times and I lost faith. I remember in the Catholic Church when all those molestations and everything was happening. I remember my brother and I, we used to go to Christmas Mass every year to St. Patrick's Church, and nothing against them, a beautiful parish that we're blessed to be raised by. But, they were doing all those things and covering up the kids being, sexually harassed and molested and stuff. And my brother and I just like put the definitive line in the sand one Christmas. And this was such a special holiday for us. And it was sad because it kind of crushed my mom's heart a little bit. I do feel bad about it. But at the same time, my brother and I had to like make a stand, and we did. And it was basically like, hey, like, we're not going to support an institution that protects people and pastors and parishes from doing this to kids. And so at that point, I kind of broke from the Catholic Church in a lot of ways. And I was like 10, maybe 11. So to have that foresight then as like a young lad to like kind of know that like, hey, this isn't right. I'm not going to go down this path, that this isn't right. Even though the elders are telling me to do it, the priests, and I'm taking my own path. And I've taken my own path my whole life. I mean, I think that's kind of why like I'm good in foreign countries by myself, because I've always used to take my own path. I navigate it well. I do enjoy integrating and meeting new people, but happiness is better when shared, for sure. There's no doubt about that, right? Happiness is it's a beautiful path solo, but it's a beautiful path when joined, handed, So I think it's about bringing people onto that beautiful path, friends, family, people in the struggle, just pulling people out of the darkness, bring them into the light. And that's what we have to do every day with every breath.
Let me ask you, do you think men today are searching for purpose?
Yeah, for sure. I think like Viktor Frankl, like man's search for meaning, right? Someone who was in Auschwitz, one of the most
Yeah.
brutal, horrific concentration camps during, the war, World War II. And it's like,
Yeah.
he who has a why can overcome anyhow, right? Like, what is your why? Like, your why is your children. Like you just said, like you were at the point of like no return and you were going to take your life. And I'm so blessed you didn't. Your life is so valuable, Clinton, and your presence is a present to my
Thank you.
soul. And you're an amazing brother. And I've always got you. If you ever need
Thank
anything,
you.
talk to someone, I'm your 9 line. Call me whenever, brother. I mean that. I'll come to you in a moment's notice. We'll walk each other off that ledge. But what I will say is the warriors in society that wear such a heavy load, they're constantly thinking about the worst case scenario and putting themselves in the fray and doing the work that people don't even see, spiritually, physically, emotionally, weighing a cross of love on the back. And it can crush people after a while. And the expectations sometimes are unrealistic. Like Christ had the cross on their back, and I've tried to take the load off like you have by just being selfless and loving. But it's like, no, like we need to save ourselves. We need to honor the gift that is life in us first before we can honor the gift and life of others. And sometimes we forget about ourselves. We really, and I've been so predicated upon always taking care of those around me, and always nurturing and making sure everyone's good to go, spiritually, physically, emotionally. Very limited to prioritize my own in that state. And that's what it comes down to. We want to honor God. Like you got to prioritize that first. And that's how you tap into your divine. That's how you tap into your purpose. Once you're in line with your purpose as a man, because you're getting it from God directly through meditation and just doing the right thing, then everything in your life magnetizes to you. So your purpose, like define that and then focus on that, and you'll magnetically attract that. Just work hard, do the right thing, be honest.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of people are searching for purpose because they're looking for external
Validation.
things. Sometimes
Yeah.
people, especially as healers or people that have been through a lot of trauma, we usually want to try to help and heal or everybody else. But I think you
Yes.
hit the nail on the head that we have to look internally. It has to be a self preservation thing. And I think
First.
for us to find our purpose, and that's one of the things with Lawara, I've always helped everybody else. But when I went to Lawara and, I spoke to ayahuasca, and ayahuasca said, "What about you?" And forgiving yourself, because I had forgiven everybody else. It
Yourself.
really hit home to me with being able to find my purpose and find what it is that I want to do. I want to help others, and I want to bring people, even like how we talked about with Athlete's Journey Home, help others, but also I have to be healed internally. So it's like one of those things I have to constantly work on myself with webs and flows so that I can, continue
Yeah.
with
I
my
mean,
purpose. And my
yeah.
purpose, it's like everything, there's webs and flows. Let me ask you this. Go ahead.
Yeah, this morning, man, like hit that wave of like just kind of devilish doubt where I woke up like kind of in a frantic state. Felt like I was run over by a Mack truck. Not a Mack truck, but a 6'7" man who's probably about 300 pounds who smashed me. But it was great. I loved it. Then I got beat up with
Mac
elbows and Muay
truck.
Thai. by a dude who's 20 who was like whooping old man's up, but I gave him some love back. But long story short, I woke up and it was a good feeling of gratitude. And like, hey, my body can still move, my body can still,
Yeah.
but I was like, you just felt like sluggish in this wavelength where I was like, there was a lower frequency. And I was just like, all right, I just need to get in touch with the Lord. Like I prayed, I got to my bed, my knees, like protecting my people first and foremost, the inner circle, you are like in everyone else, and radiate that love outward to the nucleus and be of service. Every breath I take is a covenant with God. So I bless it to God to be of maximum service. And every breath I take is a gift to that. But you got to breathe in first, right? It's got to fill your lungs. When you're breathing in, the first hit of that equation before you breathe out for others is to breathe in for yourself for a reason. That self love, and just let that self love, that like purple hue, God light radiate every cell in your body, and just sit in with that. Know that you're so filled with light and love, and that's the Holy
I love
Spirit.
when we flew home. For the first time, I paid attention to what they said, and it said, "Put your mask on first." So
Yeah,
now I put my mask on
dude,
first
100%.
every
That's the
morning.
best way to reference
So
it.
let me ask you, what advice would you give someone that feels like that they're lost, that they're unheard, or they're just going through a tough time right
Yeah, just know that those feelings are normal. I deal with imposter syndrome all the time. This morning I woke up and I was like, dude, what am I like doing organizing all these badasses to come into a room to learn and teach? I'm like, what do I know that I could teach them, or vice versa? Like, not even in that sense. It's always I know I can learn from them, but do I have anything of value to give to them? That's always the self-doubt critic that creeps into the head. And that's years of programming. That's an operating system that I let infiltrate and then ruminate and run as like an operating system for a while. So it's like slaying that self-doubt. Biggest thing for me is like, if I'm going to a dark spot or I'm going into a place where I'm like by myself, which a lot of times I am, I literally just breathe in. I feel this like huge inhalation of life force energy, and like definitely Yeshua spirit. I feel the Holy Spirit, but like Saint Michael's protection. I try to really tap into that frequency at all times and just be in this protective mode to like safeguard the others around me, but also myself. And I think just that puts on this like cloak and armor of God, and like just enables me to be hyper vigilant. So when I do have those self doubts, when I have any of those thoughts, I just kind of take a deep breath. I take a very meditative posture, and I almost envision like affixing a sword to the scabbard in my hip. And then if I need to, then I'll draw that sword. And years of like swinging swords with kendo, and I like to spin fire every once in a while with like this beautiful flaming katana on the beach. And I'm fascinated with
now?
swords and knives and weaponry. So they hold a sacred purpose and tool, and they're some of the first tools, right? Stone arrowheads and little hammers. And so I think what we need to realize is like as we get these tools, as we get these resources, these downloads from the divine, ayahuasca, jiu-jitsu, it's a sacred order to always protect those powers, because as he who ascends that power structure feels more empowered, the ego has a tendency to take and want to consume. And the biggest thing that I think meditation prevents you from doing is ever flicking that toggle switch fully to just go into that consumeristic existence where like get in touch with your body, get attuned to your body, realize that like you're safe and you're protected, and now you're making decisions out of love rather than of fear. Start making decisions out of fear, and that's when things fall apart. Now you're paranoid. Now everyone's out to get you. Now you're antisocial. Now your whole life falls apart. Like stuff like that. It's just you gotta stay in that light. I think Jiu-jitsu gets you back to your breath. You have to. You can't just hold your breath while you're grappling. You can't like hyperventilate while you're
Yeah.
grappling. You got to just find that stoic, just breathe like Hicks and Gracie, right? And it's a gift because it gets you into that body. I think it all comes full circle to how we met, dude. Jiu-jitsu, martial arts, like Ian,
Yeah.
Mark, like you, like how beautiful are we blessed to have the gift that is jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. I think when you operate like you said too, I think when you operate out of fear, it creates delusion. And I think that's where the problem is, and where we talked about healing yourself. I think within healing yourself, and one of the things that I learned from ayahuasca personally was to be submissive to understanding. And we give a negative connotation to being submissive because we feel like, oh, as a man, we're not supposed to be submissive, or we're supposed to, but I think for me, you have to be submissive. You have to be submissive to God. You have to be submissive to knowing that ultimately we are not in control. No matter how much we try to control things with our thoughts, no matter how much we try to control things with our actions, no matter how much we try to control things with our words, any of those things, none of that really ultimately gives us control because at the end of the day, God is in control. And for me, it taught me to be really submissive. And so, like, now people are like, oh my God, like you move different and you act different and whatever. And it's because I don't live in a scared mindset anymore.
Yeah.
Now I'm submissive to knowing that I wake up each day and I do my best.
Yeah.
And I know that that's all I can do is my best, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and I'm okay with knowing that because whatever lesson that God wants me to learn that day, whether it is something that I think is positive or that I think is negative, I'm okay with. Because at the end of the day, most of the time, if you think back, most of the times of the things that we thought were the most negative or the most hurtful or the whatever, those were the greatest lessons that
Yeah.
helped us change and shape our life.
Yeah, I've always learned more from the painful pill of defeat than the glorious gulp of victory, right? It's you always learn more from the loss, and it's you either win. What is winning anyway, man, if you don't learn the lesson, right? The losses always come with bound
100,
lesson. And I've
100.
had my arm hyperextended, arm about to be snapped as a dude was ground and pounding me, and me not wanting to tap, and a ref calling the fight because I wasn't going to tap, and then me having to lose in front of my little brother, my older brother, and my dad, all the men in my family, dude, like bloody and like beaten and partially broken as a young, like 21, 22-year-old kid. But I was like, you know what? You fucking pick yourself up, you wipe the blood off your brow, and you live to fight another day. And you just know that you went out and you fucking honored your family's legacy, dude. You know, fuck it. As long as I draw blood,
And
I'll get an
there's
ass beating.
and there's
That's the
so
mentality.
many people. It's
And
funny because
I was
there's
beating that
all
dude's
these.
ass. Clinton, no, just to set the record straight, I was beating that dude's ass. I fucking hit him. His head was bleeding. I fucking blast doubled him out of a ring. We got reset. As I was going for an outside trip, my foot ankle popped and fucking it landed on top. It just started raining hell. Total like user error, operator error, me and my weak ass foot. But then I rolled and he was throwing punches at me in this nasty armbar. It was amazing actually. But my arm was about to snap. And I see my brother and like my dad and my little brother, dude, I could like high five them. I'm like, are you guys gonna fucking get me out of this fucking thing? And I'm like, I'm on my own. And so I mean, the arm was gonna break, but then the ref just fucking saved my arm. But yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. But what do? You saddle up, dude. You fucking hang out with your brothers, and you be like, "Hey, this is great. I've been born for this shit." You think I'm gonna be like, "Oh my
Do
god, I
you know
lost my
how
fight"?
many? Let me ask you.
I
Do you know
think
how
it's
many
real quick.
people?
I the most glorious way down in your life is to die a glorious death. I'm ready to fight at all fucking times against any and all enemies, foreign, domestic. It doesn't matter. That is what I've been bred and trained to do since I was an infant. So I enjoy it. I revel each day as a beautiful day to die, to give my life towards a greater good, to God first and foremost, and to serve humanity. Whatever shakes out, I'm good, man. This vessel is cool. Looks all right. It's decent. It's pretty dinged up. When I ascend out of this flesh suit, dude, I know there's even more abundance and beautiful heaven all around me. So I'm good. Either way, I'm not calling. I'm going to live a long life. I got to beat my grandmother by 10 years. So, Grandma Constance von File, Hoernel, you were 93 challenge. I'm going to beat you by 10 years. I'm going to live to 103. Didn't heard it. You guys heard it. It is on this fine March 18th of 2026. Gareth the class. He will live to the age of 100.
Love it.
By order
You
of
know,
the
brother,
Queen, it shall be.
I really appreciate what you're doing, helping people become stronger physically, mentally, spiritually. That's really the kind of leadership the world needs right now.
But there's times I don't feel
I
strong.
enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah. But the thing is, Clinton, and I'll stop you for a second. Is like there's times
Yeah,
I don't feel strong. Yesterday I
yeah.
did not feel strong. I was getting ragdolled, dude. I was literally getting pummeled in submission. I felt completely vulnerable. I felt weak as hell. I felt like I was gonna die. And I could have died. Like I was in positions where I was dead. Like I was dead to rights. If you wanted to kill me or just blast my head with punches or elbows. So I died multiple times yesterday, but I love the death. I'm not a married to I live at Mushin like I'm already dead. Everything I do is a gift. I'm on overtime. You know what I mean? Like whatever comes,
Yeah.
let's go. We're ready for it. Prepare for it. Embrace it. Love it. But like above all, avoid at all possible costs any sort of violent interaction. You never want to have that as your like least common denominator, like go to out of the bag. You know, like but being able to understand the duality of life and death and being able to give and preserve and protect and also take life and death is important. I think they're vital, different sides of the same coin.
100%, bro. 100%. Everybody go follow Gareth. I'm gonna put all of your links for M3 University
Your brother.
and GTH on there. You know, I want to tell you how grateful I am for you coming on today, but even bigger than that, being the man that you are. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the soul that you are. I truly appreciate you. And as you know, I'm always here if you ever need anything.
Thank you, Clinton. Yeah, and it's such a mutual respect and honor to experience to conversate with you, someone I deeply love and respect as a brother. We've got to heal a lot of people together. We're going to continue to heal millions of people through the mind mapping research of Athletes Journey Home's empirical brain mapping study, world renowned research scientists using brain mapping and the most advanced neuroscientific tools to basically get real time feedback and data and biomarkers of credible healings of indigenous plant medicines, ayahuasca, rapé, just the wisdoms, man. We are divine creatures of God. We're all of God's children. We all deserve freedom, protection, and sovereignty, devoid of dogmatism and division and race, color, creed, this country, that country, all God's children. And so we need to connect and honor that. And as a member of someone who's Christ believing, I find a sacred order and noble truth to protect the indigenous peoples, because it wasn't what was meant to be when Hernan Cortez raped and pillaged his way through Central and South America. That was Antichrist. That was not Christian activity. That was not of Yeshua. So we need to protect the wisdoms like the Shipibo people and have support for foundations like Lawada and any organization like Athletes Journey Home that's doing stuff for plant medicines and brain mapping, and to really give people love back in their hearts and souls. Everyone deserves it. It's a birthright and it shouldn't be prohibited. So if you know anyone struggling, please reach out to Athletes Journey Home. And we love you. And thank you
Yes,
so much.
sir. I love you, my brother. I appreciate you so much, and I'll talk to you soon, Bob.
Thank you, brother. Much love, Clinton.